Good evening, happy Thursday. We're live on Red Army on the Red. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to look back at that game with Coventry on Monday. We're going to look at the season so far, or the end, depending on what happens over the next few weeks. And of course, we're going to look at the playoffs to come. And then I've got these two guys who we're going to have a look at the Borough's team of the season. We'll catch you in a second. Now then, how you doing? It's Phil, I've got Chris, I've got Jack. It's Red Army on the Red. Gents, we're going to jump straight. There is a lot to go through, and I'm conscious that typically this is an hour-long show. Chris, in the past, you've talked and talked and talked, so we're going to have to try and contain that. I want to go straight in, Jack. We played Coventry on Monday. It was a nothing game for Borough, really, because whether we won or whether we lost didn't really affect our position in the league, but it certainly could have had an effect on the opponent in the playoffs that we're going to come on to. But what's your initial thoughts on the game?
Well, last week I made it quite clear that I was quite happy with a loss or a draw. I think Coventry are the best opponents that we could have ended up with. Obviously, I don't know about anyone else's opinion, but that was just my personal opinion. So I feel like a draw is probably the best result that we could have got out of it. It's a bit of confidence going into the playoffs. I think the game against Coventry the other day, it was a perfect balance of we got a decent result out of it, and also we didn't show our cards too much. If that makes sense,
that's been a theme the last couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah,
a lot of fans have been talking about the squad that's available, the squad that we've played, and Michael Carrick, as experienced as he is as a footballer in the Premier League, a lot of learning taking place there from Alex Ferguson, not wanting to show his cards too soon to whoever the opposition is going to be. Chris, it was a nothing game. Do you think we should have gone out there and wiped the floor with them, not knowing at the time who? I mean, I think it was down to 8th or 9th place. We could have potentially played in the playoffs.
There was a lot still to play for on the final day, wasn't there? It's a difficult one because obviously you want to go into the playoffs with a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence. But like Jack said, it was a bit of a nothing game. You know, provided we didn't lose, we knew who our opponents were going to be come the playoffs, pretty much. You know, and you know we weren't going to slip out the playoff positions. But at the same time, you want to go into the playoffs, regardless of who you're playing, with a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence. The one thing that I'm thinking about is the time we played Leicester back in '97. At Filbert Street, smashed them, and then we played.
I was about 6-year-old then, Chris.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
I was one.
And then we played them again in the cup final a few weeks later, and we couldn't beat them. So I'm kind of wary of us going into 2 further games against Coventry, not having beaten them. But at the same time, you don't want to tie yourselves out. You don't want to risk injuries to players. It's a tough balancing act.
No, that's it. And I'm going to come back to something that Dave's mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Dave said that. And he's going to think I'm having a dig here, but Dave, I promise you I'm not. He was concerned at the lack of goals that we were scoring. Now, we haven't won since, was it the 3-1 win over Hull?
Yeah.
I think we then went on, I think we got beaten and we've drawn a couple as well. What does that do for confidence going into the playoffs? Typically, every other team around us that's now in the playoffs, Sunderland, fantastic win over Preston on Monday. Coventry, yeah, we held them to a draw, but if we hadn't have held them to the draw and they'd have got the 3 points, Jack, would that have damaged our confidence going into the next 4 days?
I don't think so. I think it. I know people say that football's a confident sport, so obviously the more confidence you've got, the more chance you've got of winning. But I feel like Carrick's been trying a few things. I know obviously he's been doing this like a lot to do with the injury situation that we've had as well. But he's been trying players in different positions. He's been bringing in players like Isaiah Jones, for example, who've been sort of out for a while. And he's trying to bring those players in. Like I said last week as well, I was like, it'd be nice to have seen a few of the younger lads against Coventry as well, just to give them a bit of a chance. And sort of the thing of like, just in case we need them, of like, here's your chance to play. get a feel for it. You might be playing against Coventry again next week.
But at the same time, don't you want to send the team out and smash Coventry 4-0 and then bring them back in at the end of the game and say, right, that's exactly what you need to do next week? Because that's what we need to do. We can't. It's 2 cup finals, isn't it?
But is that where Carrick's keeping those cards close to it?
I hope so.
Does he know that we're going to go to Sunderland?
Is he keeping them on a leash?
We're going to go to Coventry on Sunday and win 4-0. I mean, that would be ideal result. Is going to be. We don't want to come away with a 1-0 win on Sunday. We need to beat them, and we need to beat them well, or we need to come back with,
It can't be another 1-1.
you know, a
You see,
draw.
I feel like if you look at the way we've played the last few games compared to since Carrick's taken over, it looks like we're playing a bit safe. Like, we're not playing those risky passes that we were seeing before. It feels like we're just sort of going out and going, you know what, knock it around, let's try something new. I think, like we're saying as well, like with the tactics close to his chest and that, I think he's trying to keep them close to him and sort of being like, we'll give them something else to potentially think about. And like I
He's
say,
trying to fool them. He's trying to fool Coventry into
not so
planning
much
for something that we're not going to play.
Yeah, like sort of like lulling them into a false sense of security. Because I think against Coventry, like, we haven't seen the exciting football that we've seen since Carrick's taken over. We haven't seen those risky balls over the top, like risky balls at the back, to be honest.
And of course, we will go on to it, but Coventry was Chris Wilder's last game in charge at the club. We got beat 1-0. We
Yeah.
went there expecting... They were bottom of the league at the time. We went there... We weren't brimming with confidence that we have since Carrick took over. But certainly when we played them the first time this season, a lot of fans expected to come back with 3 points. So was it obvious that we were not playing to the best of our ability on Monday? Was it? Had we settled on a draw before we kicked off, just to ensure that we got Coventry?
It's a difficult one, 'cause we were talking before we came on air about the statistics. What was it, 70... Yeah, I'm sure you've got the figures in front of you.
I've
'cause I know
got the
you've
figures in front of me, Chris. We had 73% possession
If
against Coventry.
If you've got 73% possession and you're not actively trying to score more than 1 goal, I think the proof's in the pudding there, isn't it? That we're happy going through the motions, hopefully preparing for the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for at the back of my mind. Get the game out the way, prepare for the real ones after the final game of the season. But by the same token, again, you want to be going into the, especially considering it's the same opponent, you want to be going into those last 2 games knowing you can win them and proving it. And so far, we haven't proved this season that we can beat Coventry,
And I mean,
we haven't beat them.
Going back to the final league game and the positions, we sort of knew before we went into the game, if Coventry got a point, we were guaranteed to play Coventry. If Coventry beat us, we were guaranteed to play Coventry. But we certainly didn't want to get beat the last game of the season. However, if we'd have beaten Coventry, we could have played anyone from Millwall. Sunderland could have crept in there with the on goal difference. And let's not... The start of those games on Monday, I think Sunderland were the least likely team to get in, but then leapfrogged West Brom, Millwall,
But this is my
Blackburn
point. They're
into
gonna be-
that final
They're going to
position.
be going into those last 2 playoff games.
It's a
full of
massive
confidence.
boost for them. Yeah.
But we're not, because we've just had a 1-1 draw with the team that we're going to be playing.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
I also think Coventry played it very, very safe. Like, I know we're going to go on to it shortly, but if you look at the stats, like, they were happy for us to have the ball a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And it was, as soon as it got anywhere near their box, it was just, get it out.
And it was good because I think we we subdued Gyökeres quite a lot of that game. You know, we closed him down. We know he's the threat. We know he's their main. Is it him and is it Hamer or
Yeah, Hamer, yeah.
I think he had a shot early on.
They had a couple of chances
Stefan
before
got an
they scored,
absolute worldie
Yeah.
of a hand to. Ballon d'Or nomination right there.
I'm sure you got a song in you.
No, I'm not going to sing because we're live, so I'm not going to sing.
There you
No. So we controlled not just the game, but we controlled their biggest players. Is that going to be a similar situation on Sunday? We go all out at the return leg next Wednesday, or are we just going to play our game, take whatever result comes, and hope that with the backing of the Riverside, we've had some glorious nights at the Riverside. Is that what we're going for?
I feel like he's going to go all out. I feel like for the playoffs, it's just going to be a case, I'm hoping it's going to be back to what we were seeing before. That was, like I say, the risky passes, like the sort of the forward thinkingness, and not the sort of sideways pass it around the midfield and then back to defence and then maybe a couple of passes forward again. Like I want to see us go all out.
Yeah.
I want to see Giles push further up the pitch. Like obviously whoever's playing on the right hand side, hopefully forces back. But again, not too sure about his injury situation.
It is basically 3 cup finals, isn't it? You can't leave
Yeah,
anything to
100%.
chance. See, you know, we can't go to Coventry and think, like, we'll play for a draw and beat them at the Riverside.
Yeah.
We've just got to beat them. It's aggregate.
Yeah.
You know, if we, we've got to win all 3 games, haven't we?
Fair enough. Just to round this off then, gents, we're going to go through some of the social media that's come in. Mike Ufano's come on and said that Chris Lofthouse can't have talk like. He's not wrong. A couple of people have liked that as well. I'm not saying I'm one of them, but it's definitely on there.
I'm going to check over
He's come on and said Borough have scored more goals this season, fellas, than all 3 other playoff teams, which we have, and we'll come on to that. We've scored a massive amount of goals this season, post Chris Wilder, of course. Rob Kushnerenko says, we battered Norwich twice in the league and got nowhere near in the final. So for me, beating Coventry in the league means nothing.
Correct.
Paul Burke says, going into the playoffs, the Coventry fan in this household thinks that it'll be a draw on Sunday and then we'll beat them on Wednesday. So Paul's wife, who is a Coventry fan, doesn't think they'll beat us and thinks that Borough will go on to the playoff final. So if we could just have that in writing, that would be great.
Yeah, don't even need to play the game. We'll just go off that prediction.
So, okay then, gents, moving on. Let's look at the season as a whole, but specifically I want to look at the start of the season. I want to look at Chris Wilder's tenure this season. The season starts in July. He was sacked or fired or walked out, whatever it is, on the 3rd of October. So up to that point, 12 games of the season had passed at that point. 3 wins, 5 losses, 4 draws. Wasn't good enough.
It wasn't, and one thing that I didn't realise until you just said only 12 games had passed. We've been in, I wouldn't say a similar sort of position, but we've been in trouble before, and we've taken a bit longer to actually act and change the manager. That's quite an early change for Steve Gibson after 12 games of the season, isn't it? And obviously you can see the effect that it's had since Carrish joined us.
Was it a weird... I certainly didn't expect him to be sacked. As a fan listening to the post-match on the way home from the away games or on BBC Tees as we're going home, he always seemed to say the right thing. He always seemed to come out at the end and not sort of blame anyone in particular, but say, we've tried this is what there's positive, and there were positives. You know, the way that we came out, I think we drew with West Brom, was a 1-1 draw. We weren't good enough first half. Second half, we played really well. Sheffield United early on in the season, we drew 2-2, I think it was, at home. Again, first half, we weren't good. Second half, we were much better. QPR, we got beat 3-2. Darrell Lenihan got sent off in that game. First half, I think they were 3-0 up in about 20 minutes. We scored 2 goals, we got back into it. The flip from that is this season, we go 1-0 down at home to Hull, and within 11 minutes of the second half, we're 3-1 up. What was happening? What was going on? What were you guys sat on the sideline in the stands? What were you seeing?
On the Wilder, I don't know. Do you not?
Well,
it seemed a bit like a good match when he first took over the club.
I personally wasn't a fan when he first took over. I saw what he did with Sheffield, and I think he's a bit of a one-trick pony. I feel like he was so successful with Sheffield because he played a style of football that no one expected from worse opposition. And I think he sort of took a lot of teams by surprise, which is why he had so much success, took them to the Premier League. But you saw it when Sheffield started to drop down in the Premier League, it's because teams worked him out. And then when he came to Borough, it was the same sort of tactics. It was the same, like it was five at the back with wing backs. It was sort of pushing the defenders up, and that left us constantly open for counter attacks. And if teams were expecting it, it's not hard to say just hold back, and then as soon as you get the ball, play forward as quick as you can. Like it was so simple for the opposition teams. I think when he first took over, it was nice to see an attacking style of football. After obviously the likes of Warnock and Pulis, it was nice to see that sort of attacking style. But
do you know? I think it's the mark of a good manager that you can work with the players' qualities rather than making the players work towards the system you want to play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So clearly he was asking something of the players that they couldn't do.
Yeah, basically.
Harris come in and made them play how they can play.
Well,
He's got the same players.
if you look at the style, like the style of football he plays is very simple. Like it's four at the back. It's very old school. You've got the guy up top. You've got obviously Akpom, who's now dropped a little bit further back, which absolutely genius. That like I'll say, like no one would have thought, drop him into midfield a little bit or in the number 10 role. But I feel like he's gone a bit more back to basics. Like he's looking at saying the full backs like push forward, having people drop in and covering him. Like it's simple. Like it's simple football. It's a simple game at the end of the day.
Well, that's it. He's got the players doing what they're good at rather than making them do what they wanted them to do. Sorry.
Well, I think with Wilder, I think he came in like you say there. He's tried to mould the players into his sort of thing and sort of put square pegs in round holes. I think is the best way to put it. And I feel like he was destined to fail as soon as he tried to do that. He had no plan B.
I mean, it's a funny old league, the Championship. On the 1st of October, I got this screenshot from the 1st of October, the league table. Borough sat in 22nd with two wins at the time. Coventry 24th, and Reading, who have been relegated from the Championship this season,
crazy, isn't it?
currently sat in 3rd, 12 games into the season. They're sat 3rd in the league. It is a funny old league. It's been one of these, no team, we can argue and say Burnley have ran away with it this season, which they have, but for a long time, I stopped considering Burnley sort of in the champ. They were just in like...
Yeah, they're having their own competition on their own, weren't they? Yeah.
But between second
And
place,
Sheffield United to a certain degree as well.
between Sheffield United in second, right down to that, 24th place, for a long part of this, it was literally any team could have ended up anywhere. There was no real...
We've said this so many times, even just looking towards next week's game, anyone can beat anyone in the Championship on the day. And so it's about that consistency. It's not just a one-off result against a team that's higher up in the division than you. If you want to pick up points against a team that's up there, you've got to be consistent, and that's something that Carrick brought to the club.
So moving on then, let's go and have a look at Carrick's reign, recently coronated, by the way. If anyone's seen the picture on social media. 30 games, 17 wins, 8 losses, 5 draws. The table there again, Middlesbrough sat in 4th, Reading now sat in 23rd and gone, if it wasn't for that pesky Neil Warnock with Huddersfield. But of those 17 wins, gents, there's 5 wins there that I've highlighted. They were massively important wins, unbeknownst to us at the time. Maybe not so much Sheffield United because we were up there anyway. But we beat teams that have finished the season up there and until the last day of the season had a chance of breaking into those playoffs. When we look at what Carrick's done, he brought in, was it Barlaser in January? He brought in Cameron Archer. He brought in Ramsey. That's not a lot of transfer business. But then on the flip side of that, what he's managed to do with the team in such a short space of time is phenomenal.
Well, it just goes to show that the vast amount of work that he's done has been in the dressing room and on the training ground. He's been working with the players that we've got, and like you've said, putting round pegs in round holes, and just simplifying things for the players. That's what he's done. And
I suppose it's nice for him to hear Chuba Akpom, was it after the Hull game, I think it was, or the Norwich game, when he came out and said, this is the manager that I've been waiting for my whole career. He knows that I will best serve this team in a deeper lying role rather than just being isolated at the top. I'm free to run around, pick the ball up, drop it off, get on the end of things.
So he's doing what players feel they're comfortable doing.
Absolutely.
That's what he's asking them to do. Yeah.
And so then when we look at the way Carrick's managing compared to the way Wilder's managing, and Tony Guest he's made a comment, and I actually think it's quite a valid comment, gents. When Wilder, where is it? There it is. Wilder was a gobshite, Chris.
I saw that.
Cast from I just wanted to swear. Cast from the same mould as Warnock. It was all about him. And for a long time I was like, you know what? you can't say anything bad about Warnock. He came in, he saved us from certain doom that season that we got rid of Woody. He steadied the ship. It was then passed on. But actually, I go back to things like, do you remember the pre-season friendly? He was walking around with a bum bag on, handing signed photographs out. There's no bigger advert for this is about me than, and some of the comments that he talks about the club, and it's fantastic. And
was it say that about every club he's talking?
No, he does, but
this is what I mean. It's like it's how much of it's genuine.
But compare that to some of the things that you heard Chris Wilder say. Bought Marcus Force and was it Matthew Hoppe in?
Yeah, development
players. Force has gone on to score double figures.
Yeah.
How bad was that relationship with the club for Wilder then? If he's coming out publicly and saying the development signings and.
Well, one of the things that I've said about Carrick is when we win, it's all on the players. When we lose, it's on him. It's fine. On the next one, let's move on. Like, he's brought an air of positivity to the club, and that resonates as well down the fans. I think.
Yeah.
Even when we've lost games recently, like under Wilder, I might have been a bit more sort of irate. I'd have been a bit more annoyed, a bit more frustrated. But under Carrick, I'm sort of like, well, it's fine. Like
you've got faith in the club and in the manager.
I'm sat here, and I'm like, we're in the playoffs, and everyone's saying, we need confidence. I'm going, it's fine. We'll just see what happens. He's brought that sort of.
You can't just see what happens in the playoffs, though. You've got to go out and win them.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. Let's just see what happens.
Squad,
I'll be fine.
Let's try something.
But McLaren, he'd just keep putting strikers on.
Yeah. But I feel like he's brought that positivity back to the club, and I feel like that's the thing. Like when the players go out there and they've got that sort of backing, and they know that even if they have a bad game, they can sort of come off and he'll just go, that's fine. Like on the next one.
He knows how to treat players.
Basically, yeah.
He knows how to, Pulis famously, the metaphor putting the arm around Adama.
Yeah.
Adama needed an arm around his shoulder, and he needed convincing he was good enough to do what he did, and then he was on fire. He's done this. Arguably, Carrick's done that for Akpom.
We've heard so many people say about Michael Carrick, people within football say about Michael Carrick, that he doesn't say a lot. He doesn't scream and shout, but when he speaks, people listen.
That must be an awkward half-time team talk.
But that's what I mean.
Just imagine it was just staring at the ball.
6-0 up, Gaffer.
But imagine it, you get to the... the lights have run off in the studio. But you get to the point where he's not ranting and raving at you. It's like when your dad says, I'm not angry.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
So that's when you think...
6-0 up thinking, what's he disappointed for? Listen, gents, very quickly, there's a couple more comments on social media, and also towards the back end of the show, we're going to look at our 3 own picks for our individual teams of the season. So if you want to get involved, please do drop it as a comment. We'll read them out. We're looking at Borough's best 11 this season. There are a couple of mind-boggling decisions made in this, especially Chris, but we will get there, and we will go through them.
I just picked my favourite 11, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first asked him what his team was, slaving.
I was clearly joking.
Slaving.
I was clearly joking.
Right, Tony Guest says, when Wilder went for some strange reason, Howson and Co seemed to find more energy and desire. And let's not forget, between Wilder and Carrick, there was Leo.
I thought Leo did a lot. There was
4 games. I think we won 2. Did we win 2, draw 2, or win 2, lose 1, draw 1? Whatever it was, but
I think we did lose 1. Yeah,
he, that had gone a long way. That period of time between Wilder going and the players accepting that he's gone and thank God for that. That's Leo, who is a massive fan of the club. It's like a family to him. We know that he feels the same way about the players. The players feel the same way about him. They wanted to work for Leo. They wanted it to work for him. That's given them a couple of games to forget about the previous regime and then be ready to adapt and adopt a new regime for them at the time, whoever may come in. But it's important that we don't forget Leo's contribution to that.
Well, the main contribution's Hayden Hackney.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the craziest thing of the whole season. That at the start of the season, no one really knew people knew who he was, but he was never someone that you'd look at and go regular starter, first name on the team sheet. But now we look at him thinking like he's integral to everything that we do. Like I feel like he's been that good for us since he came in the squad. He is integral for everything that we do in midfield. Like,
Are we not relying on him too as a youngster who's just this season broke into the first team? Could we not have rested him a couple of games? And have we really needed Hayden Hackney available for every single game we've played?
I think it depends on the personality of the players, doesn't it? If they put themselves out there to be that important to the club, to the team, then you're going to want to play them. If you can see in them that, you know, maybe they might need a bit of a break from the pressure, then you give them that break. But he's not looked uncomfortable. He's not looked out of place. You know, he's a young lad playing for his hometown club. He's going to want to play every game, isn't he?
But at the same time, I think he's shown like a certain level of maturity. The fact that like players at that age can come out and they can start letting it go to the heads a little bit, and sort of effort levels drop, and he's sort of just like, yeah, I'm good.
Just Spence.
Yeah, I was thinking Spence, but I didn't want to say.
Oh, I see what you like. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where he's like, every week he puts a shift in. Like you see, a couple of times he'll give like the odd daft foul away, the odd daft yellow card. But that's the sort of he's also willing to do the dirty side of football, like that sort of cynical tackle where it's like tactical foul.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Listen, a couple more comments before we move on. Where is it? Timmy Leach says we need to get the form back we had before the international break. I think, did we go on?
So important going into
was
the
it
playoffs.
seven home games on the bounce we won, or something stupid? We had a record or whatever it was. Absolutely agree with that. Rob Kushnerenko has been back on. He says Jose Mourinho was fantastic at blaming himself for a loss and praising players for a win. So Carrick doing the same thing is a good thing, 100%. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Paul Burke says Leo gave Hackney his debut, don't forget, wouldn't be without him now. It's true.
Yeah.
You know, you can't.
It's funny you commented that literally as you were saying the same thing. Yeah.
Great minds.
Paul's also come back and said, let's hope Hackney doesn't have second season syndrome and struggle like Jones has. And then Ian James Barron says, good luck with the playoffs from a Darlington fan up the borough. Gents, just before we round off this Carrick's 30-game review, what's been your favourite result? Out of Carrick's wins, what's been your favourite? What's been the one that's meant the most to you?
I think that Sheffield United result was a big result.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
I mean, that gave me so much confidence, just thinking we can, you know, we shouldn't have to fear anyone in this division.
Well, that's when I feel like the tables, like I think everyone had that sort of the quiet optimism of like, oh my God, we could do this.
I think that's when the volume went up on the quiet optimism.
But when it was like, it was suddenly like, oh my God, we actually might do this. And I feel like that's where it all sort of turned around. That's where everyone sort of started to get that real excitement of, like, shit, we could actually make the playoffs here.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I've said before, I was there. They scored early on. Me and other grown adults around us were sort of, oh God, here we go. 4 minutes in, 86 to go, what's it going to be? There was one kid next to us, one kid, didn't care that they'd scored, and he was like, we can do this, let's do it. And he got everyone, and I said it on the show a couple of weeks ago, and then we go on to win 3-1, and you know, I was on the forums after that game, in the Sheffield United forums. I posted a load of screenshots where people had been saying, what went wrong tonight? Well, this is what went wrong. Chuba Akpom's decision to shoot went wrong for us.
Yeah, if he wasn't
shooting. Zach Steffen deciding to come out and smother the ball went wrong for us.
I can't remember what the result was a couple of weeks ago, but we've got this knack this season of scoring a lot of goals in a short space of time. It's not like we'll score one and we're happy with it.
Hull 3-1.
That was it, yeah.
3 goals in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, I've been 1-0 down.
Of our lads will get another one. We'll get another one. And that's why we've scored more than the other teams in the playoffs.
What's your most surprising result then? What's your most surprising result?
Dare I say Sheffield again?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So mine's slightly different.
So you think on his feet now?
Yeah, here he goes.
No. Norwich, when we beat them, was it 5-0? 4-0, 5-1, 5-1, 4-1.
That was a big game.
5-1. Just it wasn't a surprise that we beat them 5-1. For me, it was a surprise that Norwich have been one of these teams over the last couple of years. They've always been in and around. They've been up, they've come back down. They have a good squad of players. How monumentally bad their defence crumbled when we played them at home.
But again, we didn't rest. We thought, right, we'll go and get another one. We'll go and get another one.
And that's it. It's that.
So what was
that's
the
not
score
what
at
we-
half
It's
time?
knowing that. I remember in the past we might have been 2-0 up and we've been running it into the corner in the 65th minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to wind the clock
That's not
down.
what we used
And
to
now
do.
we're going, hang on. And again, True Rakpom said this in his interview. Post Norwich, we score 1 goal, we say let's go and score 2. When we
Yeah.
score 2 goals, we say let's go and score 3. We score 3, let's go and.
Say six. What
That's what you want,
like,
surely.
what was the score at half time again against Norwich? Was it? It was 4-1,
I think it was
wasn't it?
4-0 or 4-1.
Yeah, like, and that just goes to show exactly what you're saying. Like, it is a case of get another one.
Yeah,
Like,
do
we're
it.
not happy with the one,
Hmm?
and that's what's like I say. I think that's what's got us over the line. I think the fact that we've been conceding goals is also like it's fortunate that we're scoring them. Like that famous Michael Owen phrase. What was it?
What, to win, you've got to score more
Yeah.
goals than the opposition.
Yeah.
Like that springs to mind a little bit when we look at it, because we leak sloppy goals, like against Coventry on last Monday. Like the goal we conceded was sloppy. It
And
was
that actually came
sloppy.
from a mistake from, dare I say it, Hayden Hackney. He lost his man on the edge of the box. There was a bit of a 1-2 and he broke through and he had a shot and scored. But going on to Hackney there, he has been class all season. He was brilliant against Wigan when he got his first goal for the club. It was that his goal came from a nothing shot, well outside the box, crowded. Just thought, I'm going to pull the trigger, and he did.
Yeah,
Goes in the back of the net. But he's had a really good season. I think we're happy where we are. I think if the season had have ended in December, I think Carrick could have had that sort of 2 months from when Wilder got sacked. We would have still seen a noticeable difference. What Carrick hasn't done something, he's not done it overnight, but he's done something and the players have decided to change overnight. And we're going to see for a long time, I'm hoping, Carrick refining his managerial skills and tweaking things, but we can see as fans when we're watching it, what he's tweaking, what his thoughts are behind substitutions.
I think.
He's not one for bringing a sub on just because we go 1-0 down and it's the 80th minute.
Yeah.
He looks and he analyses what's going on ahead of him, and you can see him standing there with his arms crossed and his managerial trainers on and his hand over his mouth. You can see him doing it and working out what he
He's
needs to do.
calculating things,
And it's
yeah.
him doing it. It's not like under Wilder, where people are coming to him and saying, we need to take these off, and you can see him doing it. And that's really nice to see.
It is. I mean, the difference between, what was it, the 3rd of October, he was appointed the manager, and where we are now, it's chalk and cheese. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and start thinking about what he's going to be like in a couple of years' time. I want to remember that Coventry have done exactly the same journey as we've done in the same amount of time. We've got to look no further than this next 2 games. We've got to look no further. They're so important. I totally agree with what you're saying. I want Carrick to be here for a while. I want him to develop the club. I want him to develop his skills along with us. But 100% of our concentration needs to be on the next 2 games.
Yeah.
3 games.
And we are going to come on to that, but there's just one little issue that we need to talk about right now, and it's injuries. It's a huge boost having Ryan Giles back as he returned against Coventry. I think he was out for the Rotherham game.
Sorry, I missed that. I was reading the comments.
Just saying, Giles returned to against Coventry. He was out for the Rotherham game. Johnny Howson is a notable miss. He pulled up in the warm-up at Rotherham. Missed the last 2. Is he going to be ready? Marcus Forss, Dale Fry. Glad we got that changed, Kofi. Aaron Ramsey, all still sidelined. Carrick said that none of the above are particularly close to being back, but isn't worried as he's focused on the players who are here and who are fit to play. And interestingly, so Aaron Ramsey has returned to Aston Villa because they have a much better medical... He's their player. They want to look after his treatment. But he's also been named in the England squad for either qualifiers or competition towards the end of this month. So he can't be too seriously injured. And of course, just because he's gone back to Villa for the treatment doesn't mean that he can't then come back to Borough and play, because he is still contracted to us until the end of our season, which is extended either to Wednesday or to the end of May. But for Borough fans hearing that he's been named in that squad, that's a massive boost for us as well.
Yeah.
Of those players that are out injured now, who can you see? Who would you want to bring back in?
Force.
Yeah.
Like straight away, it has to be Force. Like you're looking at like we were talking about earlier. Like he scored double figures since whenever it was that he started scoring the goals. But
And he wasn't expected to play a big part
Yeah.
in this season,
But-
was he?
when he's playing like on the right hand side, and I think we've seen that since we've like brought Jones in. Like Jones has looked a bit lightweight, but I don't think Jones is playing much different to how he was at the end of last season. And the fans were looking going like he's brilliant. But I feel like Force has just brought in a bit more of a like he's not trying too much. It's literally he gets the ball and he's straightforward. Like he'll run with
There's
it.
an end product to it as well.
Yeah.
Because he's having a shot or he's scoring a goal, or
Yeah.
it's not just.
And he doesn't just like tap it in, does he? He scores
Oh,
screens
yeah.
when he wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's interesting with Force, actually, Jack. I just thought then when you were saying that. Jones is one of these players that Tony Pulis alluded to, again, with Adama Traore a couple of seasons ago. We saw Jones come back into the team a couple of weeks ago, played really well when he came on, having not really featured a lot at all this season, certainly as much as we expected him to feature. It's clear that the managers said, you're going to get a chance, this is what I need. And he's almost had that arm around the shoulder. He's been on a couple of times since substitutions, not really had the effect that we wanted him to have. Is that because he's fit and ready, he's on? Does Carrick need to constantly have that arm around his shoulder for us to see the best version of Jones that we know that he can produce?
Possibly. Again, it depends on each and you know, we don't know personally, but it depends on each individual player. What a good manager will do, and what it looks like Carrick's doing, is he'll know what each player needs and when they need it. And some players might need it more than others. Some players might just need hey, you can do better than that. And that'll sort them out. Some players might need constant encouragement through the whole 90 minutes, like Adama Traore.
And on the flip side of that, of course, Marcus Forss joins the club. Now, the negotiations would have been, we want you to come and play for the Borough, you're going to score goals, it's going to be amazing. He signs on the dotted line, he comes to the club, and then all of a sudden he's hearing his manager saying,
Actually, we're going to play you on the wing.
we signed him as a development player.
Yeah.
That would have had an adverse effect on his own sort of mentality. But he's come through that. I thought his best game was against Hull when we played at their stadium. He was the catalyst in our team that every time he got the ball, he just wanted to drive at them. That's where we really saw him. And since that game, he's done better and better and better until his injury.
Yeah.
I would love to see Force back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'd love to see. I'd hate for him, having had the season he's had, to have to miss the end of the...
But let me throw this out there. Like Jack was saying earlier on, we're trying to lull Coventry into a false sense of security. None of these players are really injured.
Do you think any Coventry fans... Naomi.
We know one, yeah.
Fair point that. I'll keep it zipped. Couple more comments. Ibrahim Tanner, it's an interesting one, this. As much as I think that Bowser and Scott have had too much power, I think we are seeing that machine from top to bottom working.
Yeah.
And it all feels like it's joined up. And none of us can argue because the players that have been brought in... I mean, if Archer and Ramsey and Barlaser had come in and flopped, we'd all be saying, what the hell is... The fact that they've scored...
I'd heard absolutely nothing about the two lads from Villa before they came in. And I
Which is great, because in the past, we've heard rumours.
Yeah.
you get
It's been
excited.
discussed, and then Blackburn have pulled
I
away from
I
us.
thought we
Or,
signed the Welsh and Ramsey, to be fair.
yeah, I think a lot of people
A lot
did.
of people did, yeah. But
I messaged me mate and he was like, no, it's not that Ramsey, it's the one from Villa. And
I
was
had
like,
a similar conversation with a couple of mates of mine.
Okay.
But it just goes to show that, you know, they've been identified by someone for whatever reason, and they've come in and they've done well. And that's what we've missed on a lot of scouting and stuff in the past, isn't it? That we've brought players in and they've just not done what we wanted them to do.
Timmy Leach says, I hope Borough are talking to Villa to sign Ramsey, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do as well, you know.
And Archer.
Absolutely Archer. I think he's a...
Oh, yeah.
good fit for Borough.
But we've talked about this before.
Player that just wants to run.
This is my concern with loan players. Say, for example, we go up at the end of this season, Archer leaves, Ramsey leaves, with 2 players behind where we ended this season. So we've got to play catch up before we even start improving on the squad. So how much money are we going to have to spend in the summer if they don't stay?
But if we go through the playoffs, it's worth a lot of money. And I
It's
know
worth a
that's
lot of
not,
money, yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
the be all and end all. The money helps, certainly, in
100%,
this
yeah.
sort of sport.
It's not just that though. I think with Archer though, like we'd have had no chance of like signing him like on a permanent transfer.
Do you think Wilder would have got him through the door at the start of the season? Do you think Wilder would have brought...
I think Carrick's a big pull.
Yeah, I think that's very true. But I was reading rumours the other day that Villa are happy to let Archer go for no less than 30 million. Like, now do
If Dave wants to sell Akpom for 20 million.
Yeah. Like, do I think we'll buy, like Villa will actually get 30 million for Archer? Like, definitely not. You're looking more around like 18 million mark at a push. But
You
But
don't know
yeah.
today's market though.
well, yeah, that's true. But
And the interest rate's gone up today, just to throw,
Yeah,
just to throw that out there.
But
That'll have an
there's a
adverse
point.
effect on us.
Can you mortgage players? That'd be amazing.
I feel like we'd have had no chance of getting him in. But I feel like he's been that integral to our side. Like, look at his goal contributions. It's, what is it, 10 goals and 8 assists, possibly more.
Who's that?
Archer.
Archie, is it 10 or did he not get his 11th goal?
11 goals.
Oh yeah, 11 goals, 6
6
assists.
yeah.
Completely wrong
Cheers,
numbers, by the way. But you look at those numbers, like, and he's made a massive impact on the team. But we're not going to be able to sign him on a purpose.
Is it 11 goals in 20 appearances? Something
Balmy,
like
isn't
that.
it?
Something-
It's
Yeah.
balmy for a player that really no one had heard of outside of Villa
But
before.
it's
he
balmy
came
for
to us.
Borough.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to have 3 players
Hang
in
on,
double
we haven't even
figures.
started talking about Chua Rapom yet.
Well,
I mean, that's...
we are going to come
Yeah.
on to
Wow.
I was going to say, well, we have time.
that.
Yeah.
Just finish the comments off there to this point. Kushnarenko says, Jones isn't good enough for the Borough Simple. I'm inclined to agree. I've not seen... He had a really good first season.
Yeah,
Hit and miss.
He has had a bit of a hangover this season, hasn't he?
You know.
He's a good rotation player to have. Like, he's a good player to have when you...
Yeah, squad player.
Yeah, where you sort of 70 minutes in, you're
I
two
could be
or
a good
3 in the
squad
low.
player, Jack. I would be, you know,
Could you
I
though?
could run on the pitch. I might pull a hamstring running on the pitch.
I was just, yeah,
but I
you
can
wouldn't
certainly run on the pitch if that's
Put
what
you
you're
in
looking for. Right, just the small sort of chat now with regards to the playoffs.
Right.
Get to the playoffs.
How are you feeling? How's everyone feeling about it?
Nervous.
I was really lucky. I've got
Yeah.
I've got tickets for the away game and the home game. So
Have you?
I have. I just wanted to get that in there because loads of people haven't. I'm really the thing about playing Coventry, and I said this earlier on in the season. I went to Coventry early on in the season. I went to Coventry last season. It's a great stadium, not just for its access to the main roads, but you go down the motorway, you pull off at the junction, you get off the coach, you cross the road, and you're in the stadium. So access into and out of the city is fantastic. But their pre-game build-up, the pre-match build-up, it was great because last year when we went was like the first time that we didn't have to have COVID passports and you didn't have to wear a mask in public areas or at your seating. They play like Country Roads, Sweet Caroline, that
Get the crowd going.
Will Griggs song. But Borough fans just sing it. Coventry fans are stood in awe of us lot singing it. And it was exactly the same this season when we
Yeah,
went.
we're like that. We've got that reputation, haven't we, of being really good travelling fans.
But
So-
3 or 4 seasons ago, Chris, we didn't have that reputation. 3 or 4 seasons ago, we weren't selling out away allocations
I
in
dunno,
half the time that
I
we're
went to
selling them out.
Doncaster and watched us draw 0-0 and
That's
it
because
was
it was
horrendous.
Doncaster.
Yeah, but it was still a...
This is like
sold out away end.
this is
The place was
Coventry,
belted,
mate.
There was pies everywhere, it was class.
any cold burgers.
No.
Still got that issue with the club. They've still not had an email back off them about it. So Luton, Sunderland. Sunderland, what an achievement. I don't want to say that because it's Sunderland and we hate them. Okay? But what an achievement.
Doesn't sound like you hate him.
I mean, we're going to smash them.
This is exactly what we were talking about earlier on in the show, though. I mean, look at what we've done, Coventry have done. Sunderland have just come back into the Championship. They've been up there all season. It's such a...
But to be fair, Luton, I know,
Luton as well, such a tight
yeah, like there
division.
was a point where they were like down in sort of 18th, 19th. So every single one of those teams that are in the playoffs now have made it up through the league, like we mentioned earlier. But I feel like when you look at the fixtures, I'm intrigued to like 'cause I can't call it. Like I couldn't call it. I don't know if anyone else can call it, but based on that silence, I'm going to assume not.
I'm excited. I'm worried. I don't know what to expect.
I don't think anyone's got the right to be worried, right? I think
the reason I'm worried is we've just played Coventry and not played convincingly against them.
But then we've just spent 45 minutes sitting here saying that's because Carrick's keeping his cards close to his chest.
But is he, or are we giving it? Are we finding reasons to be cheerful from that result?
When you look at where we've come from, when you look at where we've come from, start of the season, to where we are 100%. Now, there should be no team in this league that we fear.
But we can't get to this point and go, we've been all right, haven't we? We'll sit back on that. No, we've got to go and win the next 2 games.
Yeah, we'd love to, right?
Yeah.
What I will say is I would much rather play Sunderland in the final over 1 leg than Sunderland in the playoffs over 2 leg.
Yeah,
Let's not forget, Riley McGree scored a scrappy goal at the Riverside. It was a horrendous game. It was absolute crap. But we got the 3 points. We went to their place, they played us off the park and scored 2 goals. I don't want that. I don't want to be in the playoffs against them and then be humiliated by them over 2 legs. They've got quality. We've got quality. The problem is at the minute, we've got more injuries than they've got less quality. Diallo's been class for them.
Yeah.
If we end up playing Sunderland, all they'll do is look at what we did last time we played Borough. That's what they'll be saying to each other. Look what we did. That we can do that again. That's my concern. We can't do that against Coventry. We can't say right, more of the same, lads.
That's what I think the mind games. Though I think the mind games. If Carrick has been playing the mind games, I feel like that's where, if we get Sunderland in the final, I don't think we will. To be honest, I think Luton will beat them over the 2 legs.
Yeah, with the referee in there, probably they might.
But and to be honest, I think if we got Luton in the final, I think we would beat them. Yeah. But I think with Sunderland, I think if we're up against Sunderland, I think that's when the mind games start flipping back to us, and it's like we need to change something because we can't have a repeat of what happened at the Stadium Light because, like you say, like they did play us off the park, like they absolutely dominated it. Like
if there's one manager that you want with the experience of going into big games, it's Michael Carrick. I mean, how many cup finals and league titles has he won?
But look at the experience of managers.
Yeah,
you look at Tony Mowbray. Did it with West Brom for a number of years.
Yeah, but how many Champions Leagues he won? No. Look at
Michael Carrick. Sorry, I didn't realise this was the Champions League.
No,
my mistake.
But my point is, he'll know what players will need what encouragement in that dressing room, and he can prepare them for the event better than Tony Mowbray can.
So Carrick, whose playing career spanned 15, 20 years, would have a better response than Mowbray, who's been a manager for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think so. I think he's probably had more involvement in big games than Tony Mowbray has
as
a player and a manager.
Yeah, I agree. But I just, when it comes down to a manager...
I agree. But
a manager with 6 months experience in the job compared to a manager with 15, 20 years experience.
I'm not talking about managerial experience. I'm talking about if there's one man who will know what those players are going through and what thoughts are running through their mind, it'll be Michael Carrick, not Tony Mowbray. That's my point.
Okay, no.
See, I knew you'd come round.
I won't.
I knew you'd come round.
Who do you want in the final, Jack?
Neither of them.
Well, that's not going to happen. We have to have one of them.
No,
give us a trophy.
I would rather.
It's not going to
be
Coventry. We can't have Coventry in the final.
I would rather have Luton. I think when you look at Luton and you look at Kenilworth Road, like they play on a very narrow pitch, and I feel like on a narrow pitch, that's why they've done so well this season. Like you look at their home form, it's a fortress, but you go there, everything's dead tight in, it's dead narrow, like you sort of penned it.
Isn't their max capacity like 10,600?
Yeah, it's a really
it's ridiculous.
But it feels a lot more. Like it's a strange ground.
Is that on top of the pitch?
Well,
yeah. Don't you walk through like back gardens to get up there?
Oh my God, it's like my Facebook feed all over again. I think I see that every week.
Yeah.
But for me, I think on a wide pitch like Wembley, like we've seen them at the Riverside, and like they don't look as
they'd be knackered.
Yeah. We certainly suit the wider pitch.
They'd be knackered trying to come to the pitch. Yeah.
We certainly suit the wider pitch.
There'd be more space because obviously the.
So for me, that's the reason why I'd prefer Luton. I think like I say, like we've mentioned there with Sunderland, I think that's when it'll start to get a bit more like, because as well, like you'll have both the Borough fans and Sunderland fans going down, like you've got that rivalry.
It would be so unpredictable.
Yeah, like I called it last
Yeah.
week, the not a derby, like
Yeah, it would be
it's that
so
whole
unpredictable,
thing.
wouldn't it? Whilst I agree with everything you say,
All right,
I would
Phil.
love to. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, come
I
on.
would love to play Sunderland in the final.
I would love it.
Really
I
would.
would love it.
I really would. I just think as an event.
There's a nostalgia about it, isn't
Oh,
there?
it'd be
Oh,
unbelievable.
The atmosphere would be incredible,
Yeah.
but imagine if we lose in the final.
Just need
to
Red
Sunderland.
Faction to get a display on the goal when we get there.
I've seen that picture of him on Facebook with all the faces blood.
Yeah, it's,
Sorry, I just had to say it.
Right,
I know you're probably watching, but
couple of comments. Richie Beach says, guys, it's Richie from the Isle of Man. Thank you for joining us all the way from the Isle of Man. You're probably getting asked this a lot. Do you think Ramsey will be back? We hope so. He's a game changer. Keep up the good work. Come on, believe we can do this. Thank you very much.
do you think he's asking us as if we have some sort of inside information?
I don't know, but I'll take it.
We don't know,
Kush
Richie.
says, Phil, that's more reason to play Sunderland over two legs, as it's going to be a coin flip in the final, 50-50 for me. That will smash him in the final, mate. I have no doubts. Timmy Leach, doesn't matter who we play or who the coach is. It's who it is
on the day.
on the day. Gee whiz, that was a mouthful. And then
Great point.
Kofi's got the power of Facebook at his hands. And because we haven't mentioned his team yet, because I was saving it, he's pinned his comment. So I can't scroll past it. So there's the playoffs out the way. So now let's go on to finish off our own team of the season. Jack, you've done one. Chris, you've done one. I've done one. If you guys want to do one, just comment who you think your Middlesbrough player or team of the season is.
I'm just going to hold my hand up.
it's going to be better than Chris's, let's be
It's
honest.
hilarious.
I haven't seen as much football this season I've seen for a while.
To be fair,
So I've just chosen my favourite.
yeah, and that's
I
fine.
just chosen my favourite 11. That's why I've gone 4-4-2.
Yeah. So we've all gone for Zach Steffen in goal. We've all gone for Tommy Smith. At right back, we've all gone for Giles at left back. We've all gone for Hackney in midfield.
We've all gone for Paddy.
We've
McNair.
all gone for Akpom and Archer. But there are a couple of differences there. I've gone for McNair and Lenihan at centre back. Jack's gone for McNair and Lenihan. Chris, you've gone for Dale Fry and McNair.
I think we talked about this earlier on. I think McNair, Giles, Howson, they're three players that just 99 times out of 100 get on with the game and you don't notice them because they're doing a good job. Until one of them makes a mistake, they're doing a good job, you don't notice them. The reason I've gone for Dale Fry is because I do still think when he's on it, when he's fit,
Yeah.
he's a very, very, very good centre-back.
But based on this season, though, could you justify putting him in?
Of the season. Team of the season.
Again, I'm holding my hands up.
Yeah.
I did ask to change him
Yeah.
and I was told I couldn't change him.
Yeah, just because we wanted to laugh at you.
That's fine.
And no, but to be fair though, actually, Chris, because right before we came on air, I actually had Dale Fry and Lenihan in there, and then I thought
But
to
you were
myself,
allowed to change yours.
but I'm allowed. I thought to myself, over the course of the season, I think McNair has had a much bigger impact on the team from
fair play.
centre
Well-
back and midfield than Dale Fry. He's been injured a lot,
Yeah.
and even when Dale Fry has been fit and available, he's had to sit and wait for his chance. So that's why I went for
I feel like for me, McNair, when it comes to the defence, like I know he's come under a lot of criticism recently, and I think a fair bit of it's justified. I think a couple of times it gets a bit sort of he's just the fall guy for the
Well, this is
game.
my point. When players like McNair or Giles or Howson make a mistake, people jump on him, but they don't say a word for the 25, 20 other games
Yeah.
where they're fine and they
Yeah.
don't do anything special, but they play well.
But like I say, but I feel like McNair and Lenihan, like they've been a fair, well, I say reasonably solid partnership. Just after I've said that we keep on leaking goals, but said that about 20 minutes ago, like how it's all changed. But I feel like McNair's come in and he's really done a job, and Lenihan throughout the whole season has just been solid. Like I feel like he has been solid. I feel aerial duels, he's been up there.
yeah. He's
I
been
feel
good.
like
He's been class.
so it has to be them. It has to be that
Yeah.
back line.
Jack, we both agreed, or the three of us agreed on Hayden Hackney. You disagreed though on Johnny Howson.
Yep.
He's not even in the squad.
Yep.
So what's going on here?
Nah.
Come on, Jack. We're all waiting.
I love Johnny Howson. Don't get me wrong.
Your team of the season doesn't seem to
But
say that.
I feel like this season he's frustrated me a little bit. I feel like.
In what way?
Well, I feel like there's been times where, like, I know he's getting a bit old.
Is it because he's playing deeper?
Well, I'm not too sure what it is, but he just hasn't looked like on it. Like, there have been games where he has looked on it, but in terms of consistency, he just hasn't. Like, it's not been like Mr. Consistent like last season. Yeah. That was the thing that heralded it. Like, everyone was heralding him for that all season of. He's so consistent. Like, game in, game out, he will always give you like the best of what he's got.
Yeah.
And I feel like this season he hasn't offered that. And I feel like with McGree, you look at him like, and again, I know he's a player that's been out injured or whatever, but he's stepped up in big games. Like,
yeah, we've
like,
all gone for McGree, I think, in the 11.
Yeah, like, and like I say, I just have to fit him in there because of my wingers. But
well, to see this is like me with my crooks. I've had to put him on the right.
Yeah, so you dropped Force. You dropped Marcus Force
I like
for
my
crooks.
I like a midfielder coming from deep and having a pot of
To be
goal.
fair, I dropped Ramsey for McGree. I think over the season, I think McGree's had he started okay, went to the World Cup, came back from the World Cup like somebody had lit a match under his backside,
Yeah.
and he was fantastic. That goal against Norwich.
Do you not think it shows just how difficult it is to be Michael Carrick? Do you play McGree? Do you play
and
Mowat?
that's,
Do
how
you play
amazing
Archer?
is that though?
Do you play Ramsey? Do you play, you've got so many different options.
But how amazing is that? Because in
it's
the
a good
past we've
problem,
all been having the same conversation and saying, well, who's the best of the bad bunch?
Yeah.
Now we're saying, who's the cream of the crop? Who do you pick? We've all gone for Akpom and Archer, and I think it goes without saying, really, doesn't it? So Kofi's been in. Kofi's thrown his on there. Stephen, Smith, Howson, Lenihan, Giles, Hackney, McGree, Ramsey, Akpom, Force and Archer. Both Fry and McNair have been awful for me. Would rather play Howson centre-back. That's coming from a Man U fan.
Spoken like a Man U
exactly
fan.
Yeah. Sorry, Kofi.
It's this point Kofi
He's
shakes us
fuming
off
now
there.
that we got that in
Yeah, he's
there.
going to pull the string now, isn't he?
Any more on there? I don't think anybody else has put any on. Not a problem. No, there's no more on there. Gents, there's not really much more to talk about.
Thank God for that, because I might make it home in time for Eurovision semi-final.
Two massive games on Sunday and Wednesday next week. Are you going to either of the games?
I'm not.
Plastic fan. You going to any of the games?
I can't get. I've not got a season ticket this year.
I'm going home. You going, Kofi?
Yeah,
Good lad.
Kofi's used my
You might
account.
be a Man U fan.
Kofi used my account. Yeah, I wish I could afford to go, but I'm saving money for Wembley. I'm that confident.
You are so am I. Yeah.
That's it from us tonight. There will be a show next Thursday, regardless of the results on Sunday and Wednesday. Of course, you can probably listen to this back on the Red at some point. We've launched the radio station online. We'll be on DAB at some point at the end of this year or heading into next year. So online, it's on the Facebook page. There's a link to it. There's a load of stuff going on there. Football across the Cat and the Toon as well, so we can have a bit of a bitch about them up there. But it's it from us. Good luck, Borough.
Up the Borough.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you again on Thursday next week.